Mr. McGarry ready to go? What's happening, Mike?
Hey, Sully, how are you this morning?
Pretty good, man. What do you only have, one Diet Coke? You're a little late answering the phone there, buddy.
Usually you guys don't call until about 9:01, 9:02, 9:03. You caught me off guard a little bit with the exact 9 a.m. call today.
Well, Josh is a stickler for a time segment, so I
Exactly.
got to be more on my game today.
Right.
It's a little more free-flowing with me and Cole. So
Exactly.
So what's up, man? You ready for basketball season? Ready or not, here it comes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it kind of started last night. I was over at over at Holy Spirit watching Atlantic City, open up with an impressive 66-35 win over Holy Spirit. I kind of wrote a story in the Press of Atlantic City today, and it's online at pressofac.com. And, what kind of impressed me most about the Vikings was just when they came out for warm-ups, how they looked in warm-ups. I mean, they're physically, much more mature than they were last season. They looked much stronger. And when the game started, they looked even better. They really took control of the game with a 14-0 run in the first quarter. And guys like Ray Bethea and Nasir Morgan really looked physically stronger, and better than they were last season. And that bodes well for the Vikings.
I'll tell you what, Mike, Ray Bethea Jr., that kid's a man.
Yeah, what impressed me about him, of course, he's going to Howard University. I can't remember if he had 25 or 26 points last night, but what really impressed me last night was his ability in the third quarter to go inside in the third quarter and really, score inside, score in the post, really use his size, strength, and jumping ability to play hard and physical inside, which is a part of a game you didn't always see last year. So again, it's a sign of the maturity of a player. Willing to go inside, kind of do the dirty work and score in there. And he went inside in the third quarter, scored a couple of points, and was able to really, at that point, Atlantic City sort of snuffed out any sort of Holy Spirit comeback hopes.
Yeah, it looks like he's really making a more concerted effort to score on the inside, like you said, and that could be a product of just getting stronger physically, but also he's got some options when things get a little hairy in the paint. He could always dish it off to Derry or Morgan, and they can finish it off. It's nice to have that kind of luxury.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, Atlantic City just appears to be a much more physically mature and, so far mentally mature basketball team than they were last year. I mean, a lot is expected of those kids, Bethea, Derry, and Morgan. I kind of wrote in our preview story this year that they were tremendous, as sophomores. They kind of played key roles in the Atlantic City team that had some big wins on the road at Washington Township and Cherokee, won a South Jersey title, got to the state final. A lot was expected of them last season, and they kind of underachieved, losing in the South Jersey Group 4 quarterfinals. And here it is, their last go-around. And judging by last night's appearance, and it's only one game, but they appeared to make the most of it.
I guess, Mike, the most interesting thing to me about this team is where they're going to find some additional scoring. I mean, when one of these guys gets in foul trouble, or maybe two at the same time, you're going to have some guys that can put the ball in the basket. I mean, those big three scored, I think, 58 of the 66 points. So it'll be interesting to see how Coach Allen develops some of these other guys to step up. Sometimes it's, when you have that many scorers, three real good scorers on the floor, you can kind of defer a little bit to those guys and not really be aggressive in your own right.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That's a great point. I mean, Coach Gene Allen and I were talking after the game, and that's one of the things we kind of brought up as a possible Achilles heel. The three guys did score a majority of the points. Suppose one of them has a bad game, or two of them have a bad game or something. Where do you go for points? One thing that'll be in Atlantic City's favor is they've got the 6'8" junior Zion Teague, the transfer. Did not play last night. He's got to sit 30 days. Played at Vineland last year. He should be able, once he becomes eligible, to contribute offensively and get them some more points. So he'd be another guy in that mix. But you're exactly right. They need to have a consistent number two scorer behind Bethea. Last night, Flash Morgan was tremendous with 21 points and 15 rebounds. Nazim Derry added 12. If those two guys do that every night, Atlantic City's going to be fine. But, Zion Teague will make a difference, once he becomes eligible 30 days into the season.
Mike, what do you make of Holy Spirit? A lot of good players, some players with some varsity experience, but no real dynamic scorers they don't really have that guy that can put in 18 to 22 points on any given night. They're going to have to find scoring from a lot of different guys. Where do you see this team going in early January? Obviously, they're going to face some tough competition early in the season, but once they start to get into the conference schedule, how do you see this team shaking out?
Well, I still see Atlantic City, rather Holy Spirit. Still see Holy Spirit as the favorite to win the Cape Atlantic League National Division. I was talking with Jamie Gillespie after the game last night, and one of the things kind of said, last night was the season opener, but in many ways, that Atlantic City Holy Spirit rivalry game, their teams aren't in the same division anymore, so it really doesn't impact Holy Spirit season one way or the other. It's kind of like a bowl game or something, And, Holy Spirit season really starts today. They play over at Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend, 145 against Toms River East. So kind of, last night was last night, but Holy Spirit's, season really kind of starts today. And they do have, veterans in the backcourt with Drew Gallagher and Reese Miller. I thought Sam LaMonica played well last night for them. Led them in scoring, and they've got some promising young players. Joe Glenn inside. I thought the Kalinowski kid did some good things for them last night. So, Holy Spirit isn't going to see too many teams with Atlantic City's defensive ability on their schedule. So when I look at things, I see, Holy Spirit is kind of last night being kind of a one-off type of game. And, this being their season really sort of starting today at 1:45 in the Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend.
Talk with Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City. And, Mike, Middle Township, a team to watch? What can we expect out of the Panthers this year? I mean, they got 28 from Selby last night.
Yeah, I do think they're a team to watch. I think they were playing as well as anybody towards the end of last season. They started off slow. Anthony Farmer, of course, last season taking over for Tom Ferraco. Middle got off to that slow start, but towards the end of the season, they were playing as well as anybody. They went up to Overbrook, lost by 2 points in the South Jersey Group 2 first round, a tough loss. And I do think they've got some talent with Selby and Jalen Freeman. So I do think, Middle, based off the way they played last season, based on what they've got coming back, I do think, it could be a promising season down there in Cape May Courthouse.
And, Mike, a team, I liked what I saw from them last night, Egg Harbor Township, real good chemistry. They got a lot of guys that are starting to believe in Coach Bell there. He's in his second season. They like the way they're playing. They like to shoot the three-pointers. They may run into some trouble when they get into some teams with some size inside. But for the time being, I mean, they shot the lights out last night, hit 11 threes. This could be a fun team to watch throughout the winter.
Yeah, that score, when you look over the box scores last night and this morning, that score kind of caught my eye. That's a nice win for Egg Harbor Township. Again, the coach is in his second season there. A lot like Middle Township with Anthony Farmer. They kind of got off to that slow start last season, but now they're in their, second year. They finished up last year playing, better, had improved as the season go along, and that's a nice win for them to sort of start the season with, and definitely establishes them, as a team to watch, going forward, especially in that Cape Atlantic League American division, where, it's a pretty good division with Atlantic City, St. Augustine, and a talented Millville team. Egg Harbor Township definitely opening some eyes with that game.
And, Mike, talk a little bit about the Hermits. Obviously, they lost Austin Kennedy. They got Marlon Hargis back. What's this team going to look like this year? Obviously, we expect them to be one of the top teams in South Jersey every year. But without Justin Mutz and Austin Kennedy, what's this team going to look like, you think?
Well, it's interesting you say, and they're another team that starts tonight over at Tom Williams' great event, the Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend. They play 7 o'clock against Winslow Township, the defending South Jersey Group 3 champions.
Whoop, we lost Mike. Looks like we lost the connection. We'll try to get him back real quick. But, he was just starting to talk about St. Augustine. They got a real tough game tonight in the Ocean City PBA tip-off. They're going to be taking on Winslow at 7 o'clock. And they're coached by Wayne Nelson, who formerly coached Cedar Creek, one of the well-known guys in terms of basketball in the Cape Atlantic League history. So that should be a real fun game. Holy Spirit as well today, 145. So we got some other pretty good games going on as well. McGarry hit a dead cell area. We got him back?
I'm back.
Hey, what's up, man?
I don't know.
What are you out shoveling or something?
I don't know. Just walking around a building here, and I must have gone through a dead cell area or something. But I believe we were in the middle of riffing about St. Augustine Prep when I disappeared. Basically.
Yeah. What do you expect out of the Hermits this year?
Yeah, well, I said, they graduated a number of talented players, Justin Mutt, Austin Kennedy, of course, Saeed Nelson from 2 seasons ago. So they come off a 3-season run that's probably as good as they've ever had in their program. So, expect them to kind of rebuild, but there's still some veteran talent there with Marlon Hodges and Travis Stoll, a lot of good young players, and St. Augustine doesn't reload or rebuild like a normal school. So they might not be 26-2 or 27-1 this season, but they're going to win 23, 24 games, and they're still going to be right there for the Cape Atlantic League and South Jersey non-public A titles in March, and they're going to improve as the season goes along as their younger players who are talented, guys like Charles Solomon, Jordan Kendricks, get experience.
Now, Mike, I know you got your finger on the pulse of South Jersey basketball. Give us a sleeper team. Give us somebody to watch here in the next 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, interesting. You say that. If you look at the Cape Atlantic League, I'll give you a team that kind of people don't even realize how good they were last year. I'll give you Lower Cape Med. They won 18 games last year, just missed qualifying for the Cape Atlantic League tournament. They got Pat Holden back. He scored 1,400 career points. Top guard, averages about 24 a game. They got a freshman whose name has a lot of consonants in it, and I can't even come close to pronouncing it, so I'm not going to try. But the kid is a nice, heady player, good shooter, nice compliment to Holden. They've got a few veterans back. They're well coached by Scott Holden down there, who's Pat's uncle. And they do a lot of nice things. They quietly won 18 games last year. They bring a lot back. They add the freshmen. So if I'm going to give you a team that kind of, that people isn't on everybody's radar, but probably should be, and a team that, again, plays at Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend at noon today against Cape May Tech, I'm going to give you the Caper Tigers of Lower Cape Med.
St. Joe might be a team that falls in that category as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They've got Marcellus Ross there, averaged about 20, 22 points a game, and they got a big win last night. I believe they opened up with a big win over Cedar Creek to start 1-0. Nice test for them, against Wildwood today, again, over at Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend. So they're another team to sort of watch in that United Division. And I'll give you another team that also, we have a running theme here playing at Ocean City PBA tip-off weekend, and I think to take a step forward is Pleasantville. I think Pleasantville with Samir Jones transferring over from mainland, Divine Anderson back, the big kid 6'5", Jose Valuchis back in the middle. I think a Pleasantville team that did some good things under Butch Warner last year. I think Pleasantville's kind of a team to watch in that competitive United Division.
Good stuff, as always, Mike. We appreciate it. Enjoy the games the rest of this weekend. We'll catch up with you next week, buddy.
All right, thanks a lot, Sully. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.
That was Mike McGarry, the Press of Atlantic City. Check out all his great work on pressofAC.com.